Welcome back to the Red Path. Today, I'm joined by Mr. Ben Sanson and Mr. Mark Whittaker, and we're going to talk about their experiences at the ACO and competitive World Eaters. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Red Path. As you can see, I'm joined by two very illustrious guests here, Mr. Ben Sanson, Mr. Mark Whittaker. How you doing, fellas?
Very good.
Excellent.
We got two
Glad
of the...
to be here.
Thank you both for being here. It's late on a Sunday night for all of us, and these two gents have agreed to come on, have a little chat, and I'm going to dig into their brains a little bit, find out how the ACO went for them, because they both represented World Eaters, which, you know, a strong place in all our hearts, and really good. We've got some really great results from them both, and I just want to get as much information from them as possible, hear about their experience, kind of use their experience to help myself and anyone else who's looking to go to some big tournaments. So, Ben, I'd like to start off with you first.
Right.
If you could just, give us a bit of a rundown, how the ACO, how the large event was in general, like not going into battle specifics or anything, but like the whole thing. Like, how did you find it?
Well, actually, one of my teammates, Robin, suggested that we go to it, and literally he just messaged me. He's like, "Hey Ben, you want to go to Jersey for a tournament?" I'm like, "Okay." And yeah, but I mean, got up there, and this is my first major GT, and it was fun. I mean, just how many people were playing was just amazing.
Yeah. It's that's one of the things for me, which is kind of daunting, is just the sheer capacity. Like hundreds of players. We're not talking like a couple dozen, even 50. I mean, what was it? It was like
260.
256.
256. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot of sweaty bodies.
Yeah, and then we also had a Star Wars Legion and I believe Age of Sigmar also playing at the same time.
And Lord of the Rings.
Oh yeah,
really?
we did have Lord of the Rings. Yeah,
Awesome.
And Kill Team.
Of course.
I actually didn't notice the kill team.
No,
well, very small
surprising.
tables.
Yeah.
That's right. It's like watching a paintball game in the middle of a war.
Yeah, exactly. Was the event well run? Because I mean, the first big event, certainly first big FLG event since COVID sort of has more or less gone away. Did it feel like it was sort of back on track?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty well run. We had to restructure the pairings once or twice, I think.
Right.
But then we had an RTT on Sunday.
Okay.
That was not structured. We all showed up and were like, is this thing even happening? We all paid for this, and like, there's no listing. Do we just keep using the same list? Or...
Right.
But that was for like the finals too, so I think they were more concerned about that.
Yeah. I guess that's kind of understandable. But yeah, so if it's something you paid for, you kind of at least want, hey, you're playing this person on this table. Go ahead and throw some dice.
Yep.
Be nice, I guess. Mark, what about you? Like, how did you find the event overall? Like, what was your
overall? I was pretty impressed.
Right.
Coming out of mothballs, I didn't think that there was. They did a decent job of setting up the tables. It's 256 person tournament, like we were talking about. That's a lot of people to try to keep organized. I was a little bit surprised that we had our first repairing literally in the first round. It actually worked out really good, or else I would have been playing the one person that I knew that was at that 256 person thing. So we did have a repairing in the first round. The second and third rounds I thought went fine. And then it got into fourth round, and the second day, that many people, you have people that just don't show up. They don't tell anybody they're leaving. I don't understand those people, because we're there to roll dice and move little plastic figures and get our games in. But I guess if you live nearby, it's not a big deal. Me, I flew across the country. I want to get my 6 games in. I want to have a good time. And I got to say, I had no problems. I think the biggest thing going into any of these tournaments you can hope for is to not have the bad opponent. And I did not have any bad opponents, regardless of what else happened. The judges were good. They didn't come by with an attitude that I saw.
Right.
Tables were decent, and I thought it was, I'll go along with Ben. I thought if I understood how the Sunday RTT was going to be, which was basically they took the first 8 players that came, put them in a pod, and you had your own 8-person RTT. And then you took the next 8 players and put them in a pod. But it was a single elimination tournament thing. It wasn't a you play your 3 games. It was you play, you lose, and it doesn't really matter because there's going to be one person who's undefeated, and that person who's undefeated is going to be the winner. So you can play if you want to after the first game, but it doesn't really matter. And that kind of wasn't the best way to end the experience. But again, it was their first try at this. So hopefully, when they get to the Lone Star Open, certainly by the time they get to LVO, I'm sure they'll have a better understanding of what that next event means.
Yeah, definitely. I know as the event was building up, I was kind of following along on like competitive 40k and FLG.com and whatnot. And I think they were still dealing with a lot of like the tail end of struggles. Like I know Val couldn't make it in to take care of like the whole streaming stuff.
Correct.
Because of being in Canada and stuff. There was a lot of little things, but I mean, from both your accounts, there sounds like generally it was pretty good and a pretty positive event. So that's good. That's really good because I'm happy that there's now more of these super majors or whatever we want to call them. The flagship events, right? They're the ones you talk about. So, okay, all right. Carrying on with you, Mark. Out of your games, I mean, everyone watching this probably has an idea of how you both did, how your results, because I was slamming the results on Facebook and Instagram for you and everything. Getting you some hype going. But out of your games, which for you was the hardest matchup? Whether it was one you lost or one you won by a mile, what challenged you the most?
So for me, the hardest matchup, and I don't think it'll be a big surprise, but the hardest matchup wasn't the game I lost. That didn't actually turn out to be a game. That was just I got punched in the face in the first turn. Things didn't go right, and there was no recovering from it.
Yeah.
Would that have been a good game? I don't know. It certainly wasn't. But the last game I played against the Drukhari was difficult for 2 reasons.
Right.
Number one, the Drukhari have a lot more threats than I thought they did. Like I knew their speed, I knew their ability in close combat. What I underestimated was their ability to just keep grinding stuff in, and they, in a war of attrition, they had more tools to throw away than I thought they did.
Yeah.
So that made it really tough. And they're also one of the newest codexes out, so I had the least amount of practice against them.
Right, that makes sense. Ben, what about you? What out of your matches, which one was like the biggest monkey wrench for you, win or loss?
So I'll continue with the Drukhari. So I faced him in the 3rd round.
Okay.
And turn 3 rolls around, and I look at all the stuff that I've killed, and there's a pile of dead things. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I still have 40 more guys in boats," and I'm like,
"Yeah,
where are they coming from? Come on!"
Seriously, crunch all you want, they'll make more.
Yeah.
It does feel like that. I mean, I haven't played against New Drukhari yet, Codex Drukhari. Everyone I talk to who's played them, whether it's TTS or whether it's, real life at a tournament, friendly game, they keep coming.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, it's a resilience different to like, your Necrons and Death Guard. You kind of expect, okay, I'm just going to have to throw overwhelming firepower or combat into this one unit, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Drukhari's different. From what you're both saying there, and just general experience is like, okay, you killed 60 points or whatever. There's 10 more where they're coming from. Don't you worry. It's
they're worse than Gene Stealers.
Oh, God,
absolutely.
Yeah. Oh boy. So just kind of flipping that over, and Ben, we'll start with you.
All right.
Was there a game that just, you have that game, you have that day where it's like, the sun's just shining right on you, your dice are rolling right, it's the perfect mission, your opponent probably didn't sleep, and I don't know. It's like the dice gods are with you. Did you have one of those games where it was like, this is my game right here?
Yeah, I did. It was actually the 1st round, so it kind of set me off to a good path, but then it kind of fell apart.
Right.
I faced Knights.
Oh, okay.
I took turn 1.
Right.
and I popped Frenzy twice on some Warp Talons and a squad of Zerkers.
Right.
The Zerkers made a 12-inch charge because I was just like, I got nothing to lose. I'll just roll it. And I'm like, hey, look, a 12. So they killed his big knight, turn 1. And he countered back. He killed off the Warp Talons. He killed off the Zerkers. I was like, I don't care. They've already done their job.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then that was all his shooting because he missed everything else. I was just like,
Oh.
okay. He had 2 more big knights.
Yeah.
I had Khorne jump out of the transport. Had Obelisk Deep Strike next to him. They rolled perfectly on their stats, and he's gone. I'm like, oh. And then the other side, I had the Red Butchers drop in. And I'm like, why not? 9-inch charge. They made it on the second try, and I'm like,
yeah.
So at the end of turn 2, and mind you, this is only top of 2.
Yeah.
He's got 3 small knights left. That's it.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, but this has been done perfect game.
Yes.
Yep.
And I'm sitting there, I'm like, all right, I've got a squad of Zerkers still sitting in the Rhino, not doing anything. And I've got my 3 backfield objectives, just, they're chilling there, they're not doing anything.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, this is how my turn 2 ends.
Oh boy. That, I mean, you love it when it happens. Like the 12-inch charge.
Yeah,
I
but
think that's the moment you're like, okay.
That's when it's like, okay, I got this.
Yeah. It's what do you run on your Berserker champion? Power Fist or
Lightning Claws
Lightning
and Bolt Gun.
Okay, that's right. So yeah, and because you only need. Oh, and were they Imperial Knights or Chaos Knights?
They were Imperial Knights.
So, yep, you got your Death of the False Emperor.
Yep, and
Couple CP strats there, I'm sure.
oh yeah, you know, with the Zerkers by themselves, you got to pop a couple CP on them.
Oh yeah.
Pop veterans and stroke the nails, and
Yeah.
if I want to, Wild Fury, just to really grind it in there.
Oh, it's beautiful. Love it. Absolutely love it. Mark, what about you? Did you get one of those games?
Yeah, so it was also the first round game I had also, which it was against Grey Knights, which was I thought was going to be really interesting. I've not seen a player play Grey Knights since 9th edition hit the table probably, and not just because I haven't played, just because everybody went, oh nope, putting those away.
Right.
But the poor guy, he went first, and they have that ability to shoot through solid walls.
Yep.
So he had a great unit lined up to shoot at the Lord of Skulls, through the wall, cast a psychic power. I hit with Khorne sorcery and went no. And they couldn't shoot anything because there's a solid wall right in front of them. And they never got a chance to shoot again because the Warp Talons came in, picked them up, threw them in the air, chopped them in pieces as they're coming down. And that kind of threw him off a lot because there's now 10 Warp Talons in the middle of his force. And he kept trying to drop guys in and smite something off of an objective, but I have a Dark Apostle with the brass collar there, so he would roll a 5, I would deny it and kill 3 Grey Knights, and then he went because they perils, and then he would drop another unit in and I'd deny it again, and there would go more perils. So it was kind of fun watching all the Grey Knights' heads explode when they were trying to do damage, and I was like, you could stop doing that anytime. And after a while he ran out of guns, and just I didn't run out of swords. So but that game, if I hadn't gotten off that Scorn of Sorcery, you know, maybe it's different because the Lord of Skulls takes a whole bunch of damage from those side cannons. Or I think they were silencers, but whatever they were not shooting with the wall in front of them.
Yeah. That's I know what you mean. Grey Knights, they kind of they went up right there at the end of 8th with their Psychic Awakening.
Yep.
And you know, I think Lawrence from Tabletop Tactics kind of put them on the map again a bit with his he took them to a tournament in the UK, and they rose to the top ever so briefly. Then we got, you know,
2 Wound Space Marines. 2 Wound Space Marines put them down.
Yep, because there's your smites kind of like pretty much halved in effectiveness right there, and you know, a lot of other little things.
Except against us. But I'm not bitter.
Yeah, of course not. No. Can't be bitter.
Listen, oh my god, Two wounds. It's ridiculous. I'm beyond angry at this point where I just laugh. If I don't
Look,
laugh,
there wasn't a fact that just came out where they could have corrected it. They didn't have a handbook. They have had no opportunity for a year and a half to correct this.
No, of course
we just
not.
have to be patient.
we have, yes, we don't want to be the salty Chaos Space Marine players that everyone calls us because we should just be happy.
Well,
with
yeah,
all-
as long
with-
as they keep giving us, things like Khorne stats. How could we not be?
Oh, yeah.
I got him! Wind him up.
Oh God! Come! Oh God! Yeah. Look, I don't want to take away. I just played in an RTT the other day, and Khorne went into combat. Now he did a great thing and killed my own Contemptor, but he also failed to do any damage.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
He's just like he killed more points of my own army, which I was absolutely fine with because it was perfect.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, well, it's Khorne.
yeah, like come on, dude, like he just all right. Look, let's stop because we're here to talk about you fellas here. I'm sorry. So all right. Mark,
I feel the
truly-
nails.
Yeah, it's dark. So I mean I've looked through both your lists obviously, and Mark actually played against yours on TTS a few weeks ago, but this one I haven't prepped either before, but something just kind of mentioned. You both ran Warp Talons.
Yep.
And you both had, I believe, 2 squads of Chaos Marines, like regular Chaos Space Marines in there.
Yep.
That intrigues me because I've kind of, first of all, with the Marines, I've gone back and forth on Marines versus Cultists for my backfield OBSEC or Action Monkeys or whatever.
Yep.
For me, once Cultists went back down to 50 points a squad of 10, I was like, okay, I'm just going with them because it's easier to slot them in. Why did you both, Mark first, why did you go with the regular Marines first?
So, for one, bolt guns is the starter of it. I need something to sit on objectives. So if you have to have something sitting on objectives, Berserker sitting on objectives just seems not right to me. So something has to sit back there. I'm not super fond of cultists.
Okay.
Mind you, my bias against cultists goes back to when if you failed a morale check, the whole squad left.
Yeah.
So they might be more useful now, especially now that they've lowered the cost on them. But for that reason alone, because it's like but previously when we went to this tournament, it was 15-point difference between 5 Marines with armor saves in cover versus 10 cultists that just get papered off the table by strength garbage weapons.
Yeah.
So that was what started it. The other thing, I have one of my units is actually a go forward unit, and it's got a melta gun and a champion with a combi melta.
Okay.
That's firepower Berserkers can't bring. They don't, for whatever reason, they're not allowed to bring guns. Like, I don't get it yet. And my other side of it is my experience with going into close combat. You don't lose that much against garbage cleanup if you send in a squad of World Eaters Chaos Space Marines versus a squad of Berserkers. If you're not going into a real unit, if you're just cleaning up garbage, you can do that with 5 Marines.
That makes sense. Ben, what about you? Is it, like, what's your thinking on the Marines?
So the Marines, like Mark was saying, they actually have an armor save. You put them in cover, they got a 2+ armor save. Now you actually got to throw some AP at them or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The other reason, which is very important to me, is I would rather paint 5 Marines than 10 cultists.
There you go. That's
Right
a
there
fact.
with you. Right there with you. Yeah.
I mean, I got probably 40 models on my pile of shame right now. And it's like, there's a chitin in there. I'm like, yeah, I'll eventually paint that.
Right, yeah.
No, it's going to sit there for another 6 months, and I know it.
Okay, so that's actually a good point, because the reason I do want to use cultists is because I did paint.
Because they're already painted.
Yeah,
Gore.
I've got Marines painted. Like, you know, I use the old, like, because my actual Berserkers now, I have like the Forge World heads and stuff. I put some money into them because I just love them.
Yeah.
But my Marines, I use the old Berserker heads, and I picked up some of the new monopose Chaos Marines, just throw them on there.
Yep.
And so I've got Marines, but I'm like, you know, I spent all that time each squad of 10 has got like a different signature color, so I can, squad markings. I'm bloody running the things.
Absolutely.
Put the time
Exactly.
into it. But you know what? That's intuitive. The 2-up saving cover, having some bolt guns, the option for a couple of melter guns or something. It makes sense. And you know what? Once they get 2 wounds, and then
they'll have a lot of stick to them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And some kind of like defensive. If we get to play like a transhuman or something on them at some point, them sitting in a forest or in a crater or in ruins, just sitting there earning us, the swing 5 BP on a primary, I'm down for that. I'll be okay with that. But all right. And warp talons, yeah. Let me. All right, Ben. Warp talons. Tell me about that quick.
Well, if I get turn 1, they're moving up the board. They have a 3-inch charge into the enemy's front line.
Right.
And now that's a threat in their line that they have to deal with.
Yep.
And if not, then that frenzy is their scooting over into cover. Now, still, that's a threat that they have to deal with. That allows me to move everything else up the board without having to worry.
Okay.
How many of them did you have, Ben? Did you have 5 or 10?
I had 6.
6.
Just
you took the squad of 10, right, Mark?
Yeah, I took the whole squad of 10 because I was kind of trying to tech against Death Guard, against the Dark Angels with their goofy, you only wound us on 4s. You know who really doesn't care if they can only wound you on 4s?
Strengthful re-rolling wounds.
Strengthful re-rolling guys, yeah.
Yep.
So the reason I took 10 of them is if they get the full unit in, that's 51 attacks. With Death of the False Emperor on 5s, that's a whole lot of pain. And we played the same guy in the RTT. I picked up a 10-man unit of Death Guard of Deathwatch Terminators and tossed him off the table with that unit of 10 Warp Talons in one turn. Picked him up, disposed him. And that guy's face was priceless because he's like, no one kills those. I'm like, yeah, we do. And you don't care about Death Guard because, the other thing that follows them in, for me, is a greater possess, so they're strength 5, so they're wounding Death Guard on 4s. And I don't care that you subtract 1 from the damage because I'm still wounding you on 4s and re-rolling, and you're also dead. So, yes, they're absolutely glass cannon. The game I lost against the AdMech guys, they flew over with a stupid bomber and scored 7 mortal wounds, and because, not to push a sore spot, but because we only have 1 wound Space Marines, I lost 7 Warp Talons instead of 3. They're not hard to get rid of. The other thing they do give, like Ben was talking about, is if you get in, if you make that charge on the first turn, the other thing you can do is you should have enough of them left to touch a Dreadnought that only has shooting weapons. You want to watch somebody scream, touch a Contemptor Dreadnought with 4 Warp Talons, so it can't do anything but shoot Warp Talons for the next turn. Yeah. They're super happy.
Oh, they are so happy.
Did you, Ben? So you both played them, like frenzy them up and get that kind of super short charge, right? Yeah. Okay. I see that. Like, I don't know if you both agree. For me, fast attack. If we generally run a battalion. Like most Marines Chaos Marines are running a battalion. We get 3 fast attacks. That for me is the hardest category to fill. Sorry, to choose, because I would run 6 or 7 fast attack in my list if I could. Yep. Is that the same for you fellas?
Yeah, I generally run out of fast attack slots real fast. Okay. And to be fair, with the last tournament, I think I'm going to be dropping the bikes. They failed every turn.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, how many bikes do you bring? Do you bring?
Yeah, I only run 3.
You need 8 of them.
See?
You need 8.
Yeah.
But no, I respect. Yeah, like I understand that. But I'm loving bikes. Oh my god, I'm loving bikes right now. They're doing work for me. But,
every time they shot something, it's like, hey, look, I missed.
See, I just ran them, and I had to throw 2 melters on there to make my list legal.
Absolutely, and it's better that way.
50%. But if I can, I just run them combi bolter and chain swords across the board, and they get up there. Like, of course, we can't frenzy them, but just throwing them forwards, you know, killing off a chaff unit, charging something else, and just that. If they all make combat, you know, having those long bases spread out, just move blocking, they're dead. I know that's 250 points I've thrown away, but that's probably, you know, a half of your army that is now not moving to the center of the board.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but the 250 points did their job.
Exactly.
That's right.
Yeah. If you know, if they're not killed by a Lord of Skulls or something on the first turn.
Yes. Who would do that? Who brings those?
Who would do that? It's crazy.
That's madness.
All right. So, Mark, is there anything that you feel, or that you would change to your list? You know, obviously we've had our big FAQ and stuff a few weeks ago. Yeah. Dreadclaws are good again. I mean,
Yes. Hey,
Yes.
Dreadclaws.
Dreadclaws
Dreadclaw.
are good. Yeah. But is there anything like drastic you would change to your list, or like just maybe a bit of fine tuning, or?
So drastically, I almost went down the path of looking at the Dreadclaw, tearing out a bunch of pieces of my army and putting stuff in the Dreadclaw.
Right.
But I think what I've pieced through, and I may have to practice, like play a few games to make sure, is if you throw too much into the front line on the first turn, you don't have that constant repeated threats.
Yep.
And well, it would be really fun to hit their front line with 5 Berserkers out of a Dreadclaw, 2 Greater Possessed out of a Dreadclaw, a Dark Apostle out of a Dreadclaw, the Warp Talons. Well, it would be great to do that.
Yeah,
If and when they smash that on their turn 1 or turn 2, then you have a big gap as to what you can do. But what I did realize, and I don't know how I didn't see this before, is for 15 points, I can double the number of shots of each of my Vindicators by giving them Havoc Launchers.
Yeah.
And the Drukhari players are what really made me think about it. Is what I don't have is small guns to pick up the 1 or 2 guys. Like that Drukhari guy had 1 Incubi. Incubi that ran across the board and touched 2 of my Vindicators so they couldn't shoot for a turn. I was a little annoyed.
Yeah.
So now, however, all of my Vindicators have Havoc Launchers on them. So the Lord of Skulls shoots down transports, then the Vindicator big gun shoots down a transport, and the Havoc Launcher kills whatever got knocked out of the transport, moves to the next Vindicator,
Right.
rinse, lather, repeat, and we'll just keep wiping up those units that get knocked out of transports with little Havoc Launchers instead of having to throw Vindicator shells at a squad of Incubi. So that was one thing. And then the other thing is, now that we're moving into Chapter Approved 2021, there are better secondary choices that could be made if I had some units that were able to take advantage of that. So ironically, back to the fast attack choices, I don't have a lot of fast attack choices because I have the Lord of Skulls who eats up a few points.
Yeah.
But for 23 points, I can get a Chaos Spawn.
Yeah.
For another 23 points, I can get a Chaos Spawn.
Yep.
And so my fast attack choices are now 10 Warp Talons, 1 Chaos Spawn, and 1 Chaos Spawn. I put those Chaos Spawns in reserve, and they wander into my opponent's backfield and score me behind enemy lines on turn 2. And you can shoot whatever you want to at them, but it's not shooting at the rest of my army that's punching you in the face. Also thought about looking at the Cultists, because being able to throw Cultists down to do Khorne's Treasure Hunt, which I love that name, and it should constantly be referred to as Khorne's Treasure Hunt.
Damn right.
Being able to have Cultists and even extra Dark Disciples just walking around. I'm going to name two of my Dark Disciples, Terrence and Philip, and they're going to go look for treasure. So just looking at ways to actually get reliable secondaries, which is an area that I think I struggled a little bit in, as I picked poor secondaries, and as a result, some of my games were closer than they needed to be.
Okay, that's interesting. Ben, what about you? With your list, is there anything you want to change, or are you happy to keep on throwing it at people's faces?
Well, like I said, I'm probably going to be ditching the bikes for Dreadclaw. And,
okay, yes.
And I'm probably actually going to be dropping the Disco Lord just because he's got 12 wounds and people love shooting him with every melted gun first turn. He is a little hard to protect.
Yes. Yep.
And, No, I mean, when he did his job, he did his job. But yeah, they shot him off the board like 4 of the 7 times.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, that's I've never run a disco. I've had bad encounters against them and and situations where I've managed to eliminate them straight away, because you have to kill them, because not only are they probably a fulcrum of your opponent's list, or providing that +1 to hit for the demon engines, but if they make your lines, everything, whatever it touches is dead.
So many attacks.
It's absurd.
Plus 1 CP for Demon Forge on that.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's but that again, we're running a crappy old codex, so we have to use the tricks that we've got. So yeah, okay, I understand you're thinking there. Okay, so back to you, Ben. Why do you play competitive World Eaters? Because let me just brief this quickly. When I got back into playing competitively, got into playing competitively a couple of years ago, I was kind of thinking about it, and I was playing World Eaters, and I remember taking the gamble and going into a Facebook group and asking for some advice. I was like, hey everybody, I want to play World Eaters competitively. What should I do? And of course everyone's like throwing eggs at me and stuff. And then someone says, look up Ben Sanson. I'm like, okay, like this is 40k. It's not like soccer or football. I mean,
oh yeah, you didn't know I'm a professional player,
Yeah.
Right.
So they're like, look up Ben Sanson. He plays World Eaters, like basically yelling at me through the keyboard. So I'm like, okay. So I've figured out how to go onto the ITC scoreboards on FLG and stuff. Oh, so people do play World Eaters competitively and stuff. But yeah, so what's a bit of your background playing them, not just as a fun army, because we've all got our armies that we love to play for our personal reasons, but to take them to events and play against the best in the business, basically. Why do you do it?
Honestly, because like a lot of my local tournaments and everything, there's a bunch of big name people here, like Abusement Park and a bunch of locals that are known up and down the East Coast.
Right.
And I'll run World Eaters, and they're like, "Oh, I haven't played World Eaters yet," and then they figure out like, "Oh wait, how many attacks do you have?"
Yeah.
And then it's just kind of like that shock and awe factor, and then later on they'll be like, "Wait a second, I just got beat by the worst possible Chaos Legion."
Yep, in the worst possible codex.
Yes, and they're like,
we had this conversation several times as we were chuckling.
It's go ahead.
And then one of my buddies was comparing playing World Eaters to playing this game on hard mode.
I agree.
And I'm like, huh. And then I started thinking about all the other games I play, and I'm like, maybe I do have a thing. I'm like, well, I go home and play like Hollow Knight or Dark Souls or any of the other games. I'm like, maybe I have a problem with hard mode.
Yeah.
I have to play it on the hardest possible way just to see how well I can do.
That's kind of interesting. Mark, don't comment on that yet, because I'm going to ask you something similar. But I actually had this conversation with another World Eaters player who brought up who was just recently trying Dark Angels out and was saying, wow, this is so much fun because I don't have to think. Like, I just
playing Dark Angels now.
Yeah, playing as the Dark Angels.
mean...
Like they sit there and they play themselves. You just throw a CP here, you move to an objective there, and after playing World Eaters for so long, it's like the hard mode, because the comment I made to them, every video game I play, I always play hard mode first. I maybe do the tutorial just to make sure I've got my keys mapped properly and everything, but then it's hard mode. And if I beat hard mode, I do, hard mode plus or super hard or very hard, whatever.
Right.
Yep.
But yeah, that's interesting. Mark, are you similar? Like,
yeah, 100% agree. I would. Well, so my first answer that I wrote down on my notes over here is, why do I play World Eaters competitively? Well, there's this guy, Jamie Miller, who said, let's see what happens if people try to play World Eaters mono. And so I was like, yeah, sure, I'll put my Alpha Legion Red Corsairs army away, because who needs obliterators that can shoot twice and reroll ones to hit and reroll ones to wound, and who needs that?
Right.
No.
Who needs to bring some demons so you have some chaff units to throw into the we're just gonna play with nothing but World Eaters. That's completely makes sense. Exactly. But the reason I can do it is because I have been playing my own breed of World Eaters. It's like a mix of Night Lords that are totally Khorne that I call the Bloodlords. I've been playing them for almost say longer than Ben's been alive, but that would be scary. But 25 years I've been playing Khorne Space Marines.
Not quite.
Yeah, exactly. See, I was like, maybe not, but I do know there are lots of people in my local meta that I have like a Land Raider that's older than some of them. So my license plate literally says Khorne 8 on it. So yeah, I have a love for the red, the spiky bits, the brass, the look of the army, the feel of the army, being able to show up anywhere you go, win, lose, or draw, and scream blood for the blood god, and people hate that you're there. Yeah. And then they sit down and, Ben brought it up. Like, I got there and I had somebody look at my army and go, wow, that's a really cool looking army. It looks really interesting. What are those? Pointing at the Vindicators. And wow, you might go like 2 and 4 with that. You might get a sneaky 3 and 3. So playing the hard mode, because it's so much more cerebral than anybody understands, trying to play an army that shows your opponent, here's my fist, I'm going to hit you with this, okay? No, really, I'm going to, I just told you I'm going to hit you with this thing. And being able to do that and just repeatedly do that, especially in competitive play where you're getting against better and better players as you progress, to be able to have them show up and look across the table and have a guy playing Drukhari look across the table at a game 6 and go, all right, we have the same record. Something is obviously horribly wrong here that we're playing in the last game, and I just lost to you, like Ben was saying. It is fun to play hard mode, and I've always told people I want to go into those games, and win or lose, I want my opponent to have a moment in time where they look at their plan for that game and stop and have to say, all right, hold on. I need to figure out what's happening here, because this is not how any other game I've played this weekend has gone. So that to me is the challenge. And you hit the nail on the head, Jamie, when you said other armies, anyone can pick up a Drukhari army and go 3 and 3. It just plays itself. If you get in, especially if you get in the lower brackets where you can just abuse people. Our armies are never going to be easy to get wins with. Right. So it takes some patience, it takes some skill, and it takes some practice. Yeah.
And I think, both of you, from where I've read about your comments about battles you've played and playing against you, Mark, and stuff. Yep. And leading into this kind of the hard mode mentality, right? So we love a challenge. We want a good fight. We want to look you in the eye, and we want you to be surprised with how bloody hard we're going to hit you.
Yeah.
But we also know that you have the tools. We're coming in bare fist, and you've got machine guns attached to every.
Exactly.
But we're still going to punch you.
That's right.
Something, I think this leads into the kind of cerebral nature of playing World Eaters, is we are so dependent on movement and mobility to a lesser degree, because we have a few tricks. But any army that is good at movement is good at 9th edition.
Yes.
But a good general taking an army like World Eaters and making it move. Everyone expects 6-inch movement, Marines, like Berserkers, still power armor, trundle up the board or jump out of a Rhino. Okay, we've seen that. Everybody's played that. Anyone who plays 40k probably has an old Space Marine army and knows all the stats.
Yep.
So, to both your points, first of all, your opponent thinks they know what they're walking into. Yeah. But they don't.
Correct.
And then when you take, either of yourselves, me to a lesser degree, but I'm getting there, and any of the other sort of like World Eaters players who are playing competitively, we know how to move units. We know how to frenzy. We know how to pop our 6-inch consolidate strat at the right time. And suddenly with that squad of berserkers who just minced up, 10 Hormagaunts or something, suddenly they've got 12, 15 inches of movement to the next unit to tag it. The look on someone's face.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Exactly. You hit it right on the head.
Yeah, it's what I live for. It's like,
see,
I'm
win, lose, or
sorry.
draw, having your opponent go, wait, what?
Yeah.
I mean,
go ahead, Ben.
I think the best one I've had was against an AdMech player.
Okay.
He put a boat forward. There was
Right.
nothing in it. I already had my Terminators on the field. I'm like,
Right.
screw it. I'll just run into this, kill it, pop the strat, moved. I think his closest thing was 18 inches away, and I'm like,
Okay.
I moved close to it, and he's like, wow, you moved all the way over there. I was like, don't worry, watch, I'm gonna touch it right now. He's like, what? I'm like, I'm burning CP, but you know what? Fury of Khorne.
Yes. Yep.
He's like, wait a second, that squad just moved over 20 inches. Yeah, and their base movement is 5.
Yep. Oh,
Charge distance is a wonderful thing.
Oh, it is.
it's beautiful. It was I remember this is before Ninth dropped. I made a video. I actually turned out I made a slight error on it, but the essentially it was correct. Is the amount of movement you could get off of a Red Butcher Terminator Lord by popping all the strats for Consolidate, Frenzy, and Fury of Khorne. You could move the whole board. I mean, you've got
up to almost 36 inches.
Yeah. It's ridiculous, but like that situation you just talked about, that's it. The better you are as a World Eater player, okay, that guy, my closest unit is 7 inches away. I can make that charge with I've got my icon or violent urgency nearby, whatever.
Yep.
I'll probably make it. And then the next closest unit he thinks is safe, 13, 14 inches away. I can't declare it as a charge, but I can go and wrap it.
Yep.
And
hug it.
It's a bow or it's a rhino or it's a chaff. I'll just touch it, take a couple wounds off, and then he's not shooting me next turn when I consolidate 6 inches around it, kill it on his turn, and then I'll go ahead and move another 12 inches.
Yep.
It's
100% correct.
Yep.
It is a lot of fun, and I think that is I think that's going to be a key to both of your play styles, is just knowing those movement shenanigans and tricks and ways to do it.
So that's actually something that was actually really easy, because in the last round, Mark played the guy. I think you lost to him, the Dark Angels player.
Oh, when we were playing in the RTT, yep.
Yeah, and then I played him. So halfway through the game, he's like, "Oh, so you're gonna pop that -1 CP or -1 AP, additional AP?" I was like, "Oh yeah, so you already know all my strats. All right, cool, this is easy."
Yeah, he found out that was because of the warp talents. He's like, "Oh, I have 1-up saves." I'm like, "Fantastic! My warp talents are -3 AP. You have half your guys dead."
Yeah.
Because I did 33 wounds to him, and he's like, what?" Yeah. It was
you
fun.
both played the same Dark Angels player in the RTT?
Yeah, I was throwing stuff around just because I was trying to see if I could kill off his entire army, and I got a little bit reckless. But he got an eye opener. He had 7 Dark Angels Terminators left out of 40 something.
Okay.
By the time he was done, because I was just swatting everything just to see if I could kill it and not paying attention to anything. Because like I said, that RTT was a little weird. But
It was.
I really, really, really wanted to play Ben, was what it boiled down to, and I lost and didn't get a chance to.
Oh,
Yeah.
How did you do against the Dark Angels player again?
He didn't bring enough warp talents.
I did not. But then again, all right. So turn 1, my warp talents went in. He overwatched, and I lost 5 of them to Overwatch. And I'm like, ow.
Yeah, but Ben, how many would you have lost if they had 2 wounds?
2.5.
He's gonna pop again. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. No, you're not salty at all.
No,
and then
not at all.
Yeah, no, it was like
That's right.
hitting a brick wall.
Yeah, I was stopping by every once in a while to watch that game, and I could just see it. It was kind of like all of Ben's dice decided, you know what, we're tired. We want to
They
go
really
home.
did.
And I know it's not a blame the dice thing, but when you're up against a very solid army like that can put its models back, one of the things I always tell people is the downside of playing our army is we have a lot of tools, but if they don't work, then the gears start grinding against each other, and the wheels come off, and it's like, oh well, let's see how many points we can score and kill as much stuff as we can.
Pretty much. I mean, at the end of the game, I was like, all right, you know what? My whole goal is just to kill off the Deathwing Knights.
Yeah. There you go.
And literally the last round and a half, everything failed.
Oh.
Yeah, the Red Butchers failed what, an 8-inch charge with reroll?
Yes, twice.
Oh,
And I'm like,
man.
come on.
Yeah.
And then the Obelisk rolled nothing but ones. I was like, I'm shooting at these guys in cover. There's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
He's already killed off 3 squads of Zerkers, 2 characters, plus... I was like, I'm just done.
Yeah.
I can't do anything about this.
I think 2 wounds aside, Mark, so don't worry, we're all well aware of it. 2 wounds aside, I think one of the biggest disparities for such an old codex, not just an 8th edition, but the 2nd or 3rd codex that dropped in 8th.
Yeah, early 8th.
The later 8th codexes, to a degree, and certainly the 9th, they don't play a dice game as much as we do, because they have so many abilities and stratagems and resources, like the doctrines or dynasty codes and stuff like that, which mitigate the need for luck in a dice roll. Everything we have, short of apoplectic frenzy, I believe, if I'm remember right, is dice dependent. All right, and the 6-inch consolidate.
Well, and to be fair, apoplectic frenzy is too, because if you don't go first,
yes, exactly. So even there, but I mean, it does give you a bit of a very expensive redeploy. But no, 100%. But okay, so we've got Khorne for failed rerolls. We have Lords for 1s, and an Exalted Champion is clutch, but it's just combat. We get some rerolls. We don't really get. We get Veterans of the Long War, which is obviously probably our best stratagem, because
Demon Forge.
Demon Forge as well.
Yeah.
But again, Demon Forge is rerolls, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
It
It
fails,
Veterans is it doesn't affect transhuman now.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we're strength 6.
Yeah.
We should be winning you on 2s and 3s, but no.
The only kind of trick I've discovered for that, playing against Space Marines, for me, and I don't know how you two play, I like to make my opponents spend their CP, because I don't want them interrupting in round 3 and round 4.
Yep.
I don't mind. So hey, well, what can I? So I'll vets. If I know I can get them down into that 2 or 3 thing, I'll make them try and throw Overwatch on something. Because if I can get them to 1 CP, I know I've got a round of combat with no interruption, and that's when every berserker disembarks.
Yep.
So I vet on purpose to make people transhuman, just to play that kind of game.
100% correct.
But that's, why should we have, exactly like you say, we're strength 6 berserkers, potentially strength 7 if our codex ever drops, because apparently the chain axe is strength +2, except not for us.
No, only Death Guard, only Death Guard.
Only Death Guard, but,
it's coming.
Oh, but we have to play so far above anyone else. It's good because it teaches us, right? We're learning our army so damn well.
Yep.
But, God, I just wish.
Until we do get our new codex, then we're like, wow, this is you know what? I'm putting this army away as 2s.
Yeah.
But you know what? I've several players I've talked to have said, and I feel the same. I don't know if I would do it, but the reason apart from really loving the lore and the background, and always loving the red spiky stuff, right?
Yep.
Playing World Eaters competitively, or even in my local fun meta, right, friendly games, it's hard mode, and I love that challenge, and I think we all do. You've both said as much, and I think it's a World Eaters player thing. And if we suddenly got the, you know, like when the Codex drops, we're like the new Iron Hands or the new Drakari.
Yeah, I will love it. I
will
love every minute of it. I'll be like, you guys laughed at us for 8 years. Now you're gonna eat it.
But the problem is, I don't want to sound like an asshole here, because I absolutely respect, and you know, there's top tier players or what you might call a net lister who jump on the newest hot army.
Yep.
And you know what, if that's how you enjoy this game, 100% respect. I'm not judging you, but deep down inside, if World Eaters did become like a true competitive army, regardless of the general,
yep,
I would want Ben or Mark, myself, or Dara, or Maxine, or Danbrook, or Dylan, or Victor, or any of us who've been putting in the legwork to be the one on the podium or on the top table.
Oh yeah.
It would break. I would love to see World Eaters top table, but it would kind of hurt me if it was Mick Nanavati or John Lennon.
Well, I think the good news is I played back in 5th edition,
right,
when I have 8 Khorne bikes, because you used to be able to put a Bloodthirster in your champion, give him an axe to Khorne, and that champion on a bike went in swinging 8 attacks because it had the Bloodthirster in it at strength 10 with an axe to Khorne, tearing stuff up. And you know who was not playing World Eaters back then? The same people who are not playing World Eaters now, because Slaanesh was still better, Tzeentch was still better, Death Guard were still better. We're a special breed that wanna, like I said, it takes something to show up and be like, here's my fist, I'm gonna punch you with it, and then just enjoy screaming blood for the blood god and shoving across the board and going, yep, I really did just bring a knife to a gunfight and stabbed you repeatedly.
And I won.
And I won. Exactly, Ben. And if I didn't, you know what? I brought a knife to a gunfight. What did you expect was going to have stabbed?
Khorne still wins. There's blood.
That's right.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what we all have to remember, that one. I didn't lose, Khorne won. So.
That's right.
So, let's talk about what advice would you both give to me? Mark first, give to me and for anyone who wants to go to one of these big events, right? Who wants to get into the real heart and soul of competitive play. Because an RTT you can take what you want to, right? But when you go to these, well, I mean, round here people do. And that's fine, because
100%.
Yeah.
So I would say, and I'm not just saying this because I'm talking to you, I would say listen to the video that Dara put out there on what to do, because my advice would be practice. Get a list. Don't change it every time you play it. Play 4, 5, 6, 7 games with one list. Then you've got a good variety of ideas of what works, what doesn't work against different opponents. So you're not making knee-jerk reaction changes. And then make little tweaks to it like you've been doing, Jamie.
Yeah.
And then practice that list 6, 7, 8 times. Practice, because we are playing hard mode. So we have to know what happens if you go first, what happens if you go second, what secondary should I never, ever take against these opponents, and what are absolute gimmies, because they're never going to leave their deployment zone, so I can raise the banners and score 15 points because they'll let me. Those kind of things, absolutely necessary. And along those same lines, one of the things that you and I were talking about earlier is don't always, once you've got a list you're happy with, practice going second, because that can throw you out of your game a lot if you think, oh yeah, my army's awesome if I go first. Well, you don't go first half the time.
Exactly.
So practice not going first. Would be the big things. And again, go watch Dara's video, because there's a lot of good advice in there about what to do in prepping. That's
good. I did watch Dara's video because I had to edit the bloody thing. So
there you go. Watch it again.
It is really good advice. In fact, I almost put it on Instagram, but I was like, I'm not going to be this guy, because I bought a thing of protein cookies and some lemon water.
I posted pictures on
but I was like, it's like, I'm just going to an RTT. Do I need to post my protein cookie selfie? Nah, it's okay. But no, and you know what? It worked. I wasn't all. Now I had 7 cups of coffee during the morning, But when I was there,
yeah, see, I'm not going to say right after I had that protein bar and water, I lost. And when I had the Stromboli and Mountain Dew, I went 3-0. But that is what happened.
Ben, what about you? What sort of advice can you give to players like myself or anyone who's either thinking about jumping into the big leagues or has already committed like an idiot like I have and bought a ticket?
So go in there with an expectation goal. I walked in there, I was like, you know what? I'm probably not going to win, but if I can go 3 for 3, that's awesome, which I did, so I'm happy about that. The other thing is, before you go, you have a list that you're happy with, go play a bunch of people that you don't normally play.
Right.
Whether it's on Tabletop Simulator or real life. That way you're not playing like one list against someone else and you kind of grow like stagnant and you can't really go anywhere. Another thing is, like what Mark was saying, what happens if you go turn 2? You have to go, okay, these things are going to die. Can I still... You'll have enough utility in my army to still do something.
Right.
And the only other thing I'll say is, know your list, know your strats, and if you can, do a little research on what the other people are playing. Like, not really like searching, BCP for their lists, but just get like a general, like, okay, so Ultramarines, they have a for the greater good Overwatch if they want to. Right. Just know a couple of little strats here and there that you can prepare for.
Yeah. That's both of that, like because Mark and I made a comment somewhere, and Mark we were chatting about the like going second.
Yep.
Because that's I found out apparently I can do really well if I go first, but if I go second, my tools aren't properly equipped for it. So I need to either fine tune my playstyle or refine my list to be able to cope with it. And what you just said there, Ben, about basically knowing your enemy, right? There's no way, even for like a 16 player.
There's too many other lists to know everybody. Just
and even like the meta list, like the list that won the ACO or whatever that people are going to try and build similar to, it's not the same. When you play, Joe Schmo off the street playing that list, they're not playing it the same way that, Brad Chester played it or something like that. But absolutely know those key strats. Like, do they have some kind of ridiculous psychic power that's like a 4d6 smite against, like things that follow Khorne or something? Do they have Overwatch?
That power is called You Fight Last.
Yes.
And lots of people have
it. It's funny that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if
you gotta watch those ones.
If you have one deny, make sure you know when to use it.
Oh god, I mean, I do like the FAQ clarification has leveled it a little bit, or quite significantly. I think it's ironed it out. But that's the fight last. Come on, GW.
Look, you said you wanted extra hard mode. They're just
No, I wanted hard mode.
Well,
sorry.
You said you wanted to beat the game on hard mode and then go to impossible mode and hell mode. Yeah. We're somewhere in that second or third playthrough that,
Yeah. Well, look, we're about to get Grey Knights and Thousand Suns codexes, so that
more
phase
psychic powers.
Yeah, the phase that we do literally nothing except potentially 2 denies if we got the relic. And
we do something else in that phase too. We die.
Well, yeah, right?
But only because we only have 1 wound.
That is true.
Cultists! That's what I'm saying! Cultists! I don't... D6 mortal wounds from your super smite?
That's right.
I don't do. And you know what? Just to rewind a bit, I know one of you said something about the attrition or the leadership test on the cultists.
Yep.
That's huge.
It is huge.
It is. Yeah. It's huge because the amount of times I've lost 4 cultists, and I've got a -1 modifier because of reasons. I just take the squad off. There's no point. Now, okay, you're losing 1, and then you're probably losing. Man, we're really going I just got my second warning here. But yeah, you know, you lose one, you probably lose a second.
Yep.
And if, you know, but I think I had one squad of 10 that survived 2 morale checks.
Yeah.
Like in the game, which is unheard of, you know, previously. But yeah, okay, not to diverge. So, I mean, that more or less wraps it up. You know, overall, you guys, I'm taking it at a great time, right?
Absolutely.
Oh yes.
That's the impression I get. I mean, if you're going to take World Eaters,
that is the other thing I would say is you're hitting the nail right on the head. There is that the people you see playing World Eaters competitively are there to have a good time too. They're not showing up. They're not going to drop if they go 0-1 or 0-2.
Right.
They're going to play because we're there to chew up whatever models we can and have a good time doing it. So you're going to find good people if you find World Eaters players. We may yell a lot, but we'll be decent about it afterwards.
Yeah, but see, we're just gonna yell "Blood for the Blood God," and everyone's gonna turn and look at us for a second. And...
It happens.
See,
yeah, exactly.
Ben's played next to me. He knows.
Exactly.
So one thing I'm thinking of doing, because there's I know a couple people who follow the channel have already bought their tickets for the LVO as well. So I'm thinking, but I don't know if they're taking World Eaters. I think one's taking possibly Necrons, and I'm not sure what Damien's taking, if he's taking Black Legion or World Eaters. But I want to get a thing going where at any point, if someone yells at the top of their lungs, "Blood for the Blood God," every other World Eaters fan has got to reply with "Skulls for the Skull Clan," just to make those heads turn.
Yes.
You know, because the Orc players always do it with their war or their wah. I want us to be known for something, you know, some fun shenanigans as well.
Absolutely.
It's so anyone watching this right now, if you're at an event, yell "Blood for the Blood God," and if you hear it, yell "Skulls for the Skull Clan." But all right, gents, I'm gonna wrap this up here because we're about to get kicked off by Zoom because I'm cheapskate and I won't upgrade to the premium version. But
don't worry, I am too.
I've got plastic crack to buy. I'm not spending it on technology. Hell with that.
Yeah, no.
So thank you both for taking time out of your Sunday evenings to come and have a little chat with me, and appreciate you both, and massive hype and respect for going out there and kicking some ass for us and bringing some fire to the World Eaters name.
Awesome.
We appreciate it, and wanna just.
I hope to see you at LVO. So,
are you coming as well?
I hope so. It's the closest tournament to me, but we'll see.
That's true. Yeah. Ben, is it on the cards for you?
It could very well be. Me and a couple of my teammates have talked about it. We're like,
okay,
do we really want to go this?
Yes,
I'm like,
do
it.
Man up.
Get to the chopper.
Yeah, get to the chopper. They're all like, hey, I need to check this over with my boss. So I was like, pull up my phone. I'm like, hey, baby, I'm going to go take another weekend off. And she's just like, she's like, okay. I'm like,
cool.
All right, thank you, wife.
Yeah. That's, it would be awesome if you fellas come there as well. I think it's going to be a good time no matter what, but if we could get a bunch of us down there representing,
good times.
We'll make them know our names. All right, gentlemen, thank you for your time. Everyone at home, thanks for watching. Stay healthy, stay safe, kill main bird.